now, let's take a look at some political developments as President Bola Tinubu's appointment of Professor George Amupitan, SAN, as the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has sparked sharp divisions within the opposition, reopening debates about the credibility of Nigeria's electoral process and the long-delayed push for electoral reforms. Amupitan's nomination by President Bola Tinubu, which was confirmed on Thursday by the National Council of State, is however subject to the approval of the Senate. Ahead of Amupitan's confirmation hearing, a coalition of civil society groups and other Nigerians are asking the Senate to release its screening guidelines for public input to allow senators to reach a better decision. The nomination of Amupitan, who hails from Kogi State, follows the exit of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu from the electoral body after 10 years. Now, in other news, the chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP Governors Forum, and governor of Bauchi State, Senator Bala Mohammed, has declared that the gale of defections by the members of the party to the ruling All Progressives Congress won't sink the main opposition party, insisting that PDP will remain strong and reclaim power in 2027. Speaking to journalists in Abuja at the inauguration of the media subcommittee of the National Convention Organizing Committee, Mohammed, who also serves as chairman of the PDP National Convention Publicity and Communication Subcommittee, described the defection to APC as an act of cowardice, as Governor Diri of Bayelsa State joins his Enugu State counterpart, Governor Peter Mbah, in moving to APC in the coming days. Now, the African Democratic Congress has criticized President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for granting presidential pardons to dozens of convicted drug traffickers and smugglers, describing the decision as a national disgrace that, in its view, undermines Nigeria's anti-drug campaign and damages the country's international image. The presidency on Saturday released a detailed list of 175 individuals granted the 2025 presidential pardon, among them the late nationalist Herbert Macaulay, the late Major General Mama Mbatsa, and Miriam Sanda, who was sentenced to death for killing her husband. The pardon, which also included presidential clemency, covered more than 30 convicted drug offenders and several others jailed for crimes such as homicide, fraud, and illegal mining. The development has sparked widespread criticism and debate across the country. In a statement on Sunday, ADC National Publicity Secretary Bolaji Abdullahi described the move as, and I quote, pathetic and a national disgrace, end of quote. He argues that it undermines the nation's war against drugs, encourages criminality, among other things. Well, we are now joined by Arise Director of News and Politics, Editor Samna Sambo, who is live with us from Abuja. Samna, good morning. Welcome to the morning show.
Yeah, good morning, Mbah. Good morning, Rufai, and good morning to our viewers. So good to have you join us.
Yeah, we've got so much to get through today. I'm going to start with the politics. This impending decamping of Peter Mbah, also reported decamping of Diri coming up soon. My question is, they say they are moving with their structures. How successful do you think this move will be, especially in a state like Enugu, where we know that the lifeblood of the state has been PDP for such a long time?
Well, it's a very difficult situation for even Governor Peter Mbah, because as I said, the last time I spoke with a whole lot of stakeholders this morning, they are not so very clear as to if the movement is still going to happen on Tuesday, tomorrow. Like we've heard previously, a whole lot of consultations are ongoing. And of course, you know, he's been under pressure by the likes of Sullivan Chime, former governor of the state, Senator Kenny Namani, former president of the Senate, and others who have moved to the APC and have been there for quite some time. But of course, his movement is actually predicated on the tension within the PDP and the southeast zone of the party, where we've seen that Sunday Ode Okoye, former youth leader and who eventually became national secretary, controversially, was rejected in the place of Samuel Anyanwu. They had wanted Samuel Anyanwu to be kicked out as national secretary, and of course Sunday Ode Okoye to be put in there. Since 2023, this battle has been ongoing, but unfortunately, That has not happened, and we've also heard that Sunday Okoye has even gone ahead now to resign from the PDP, and of course looking like he's going on his way to the APC. So it's a very huge challenge, and Mbah had already threatened us at then that if the Southeast PDP is not treated fairly, that they would eventually have to look for better alternatives. So is the better alternative moving to the APC? Well, we all are waiting to see, because it's the only PDP governor that's left in the Southeast. So if you look at the controversies that have been trailing him, and of course with what happened with Naji, the ousted minister, the minister who just resigned due to his certificate forgery scandal, you will see that everything has been orchestrated, including the dissolution of the State Executive Council, of the State Executive Committee of the APC in Enugu State last week. Everything looks to be orchestrated to allow Governor Mbah to have a seamless, entry into the APC, because Ben Nwoye, who used to be the former state chairman of the APC, has now been brought in as the caretaker committee chairman, and Ugochukwu Agbala, who used to be the state chairman, was stepped aside. But Ugochukwu Agbala, for example, is insisting that the National Working Committee of the APC doesn't have the power to actually sack elected state ESCO. So that controversy is still there. And so if Governor Mbah is not careful, he will be jumping from frying pan to fire, like we like to say. And for Governor Diri, he's also being warned seriously by PDP stakeholders in Bayelsa State that he needs to be very careful, because it looks like the target is actually to use his defection to whittle down the influence of Jonathan, Goodluck Jonathan, ahead of Jonathan's, purported entry into the presidential race. And if that does happen, it could be a huge challenge, because Bayelsa has always been a PDP state. And, his predecessor, like former Governor Dixon, Siriaki Dixon, doesn't seem to want to go. In fact, there are threats, actually, from some lawmakers that we've heard that if Governor Diri does attempt to actually move to the APC, he may be impeached. So a whole lot of issues, potpourri of issues for these two governors.
And guess what, Sambo? You have a way of just bringing all of them to this melting pot, of great analysis. That's what you can get here on Arise TV. I'll be sarcastic in saying that some people have called for the ban of the NDLEA. And you know why? Because they say if President Tinubu can go ahead to pardon those that were apprehended as a result of the hard work of the NDLEA, then why is there a need for the NDLEA? And also, I want to ask you this direct question. Did Amupitan serve on the president's election petition panel at any point in time, or give any advisory to the president, or is a political ally of the president? Because that word is coming out, and we need some finality on this. Briefly.
All right, Rufai, let me start with that last question of yours. The person who represented President Tinubu at that presidential election tribunal is Tayo Oshipito, SAN, who is a professor of law at the University of Lagos, not Joash Amupiton, who is a professor of law at the University of Jos, and of course a deputy vice chancellor. So let's be very clear, Joash Amupiton, professor of law, was never on the legal team of President Tinubu. And then, of course, you would have seen a denial, too, that was issued by the coordinator of President Tinubu's legal team, Babatunde Ogala, where he clearly stated that Joash Amupiton was never a member of the legal team. And then as to the first question you raised, well, the issues of prerogative of mercy lies with the president in consultation with the National Council of State. But this has been a controversial instrument. Remember in year 2000, when we had that scandal with Salisu Buhari, well, the government of then President Olusegun Obasanjo and Atiku Abubakar as vice president would then go ahead to actually grant Salisu Buhari, former Speaker of House of Rep, who was found guilty of certificate forgery, some sort of clemency. And so that, created an uproar. Now, under Jonathan, under Yaradua, it was only one farmer who was granted the clemency because he had been, on death row for 22 years and all of that. So Yaradua didn't use it politically like we've had. But under Jonathan, yes, we had Alamesia being granted presidential pardon, and of course, it caused a whole lot of uproar here and there, and then some others. And then under Buhari, you could see that Jolly Nyame, and then, of course, Joshua Diri were granted, this clemency. It created a whole lot of uproar. And then now you are seeing Tinubu going the same way. Okay. So people are beginning to say that under Tinubu, the clemency that was given was more to, drug laws, people who are drug couriers and all of that. And so that's where the opposition members are coming to ask a whole lot of questions. And of course, I can feel the complaint that you're putting in place, because it's not just the NDLA, even EFCC officers have in time past been questioning this clemency granted to corrupt officials who were convicted. Okay. And they keep saying that, why is there need for EFCC to keep doing its job? If indeed, after they've convicted all of these people, then they'll, these people will be granted clemency. So in summary, I mean, it's just a very sad situation for us. And I would suggest that, the Attorney General of the Federation should have a constitutional role alongside civil society organizations and others, where they sit down together and work with the presidency to fashion out this list. Let's not just leave that prerogative of mercy to the presidency and the National Council of State alone.
Thank you so much. When you leave it to one man, then definitely there's abuse. That's how we have peer review. Thank you so much.